Welcome back to another episode of The Lofty Lender. This week we've got another special episode. We've got Shelley Kehoe joining us today. Shelley is a seasoned CPA with over 20 years of experience in individual and business tax preparation. She serves more than 600 families each year and is known for her ability to solve complex IRS and Iowa Department of Revenue issues with confidence and care. Her clients value her not just for her tax expertise, but for the trusted relationships she builds. Many return year after year. Shelley takes a holistic approach, often connecting clients with expert financial planners to help make them smart, long-term decisions. She began her career in accounting while also raising a family, growing her professional role over time. Today, she's a mentor to young talent, a leader in process improvement, and a dedicated volunteer with organizations like Meals from the Heartland and the Johnston Community School District. Shelley holds a Bachelor of Arts in Accounting from the University of Northern Iowa, graduating cum laude, and maintains an active CPA. And I laugh because she told me not to say graduating cum laude because it was so long ago, but it's pretty baller. So I think we need to make sure everybody knows that she's a BA out there. Let's just say that. So
No,
welcome
no,
to the show.
no, but thanks, Kyle.
I'm gonna have fun. Don't worry. I know you're tense about this, but it's gonna be fun. I promise you. All right. So first question is, I like to just understand why you decided you wanted to get into being a CPA. Like, did you have another career before this? And you're like, I want to be boring and I want to be stuck behind a desk and I want to look at numbers all day long. Is that something?
It's funny that you say that because back in the day when I was at UNI, I had two options in my head. I was either going to be a teacher or I was going to go into business. And my father was a CPA and then owned a car business. He was a CPA for just a few years and then he got into the car business. So he was a business owner. So he was kind of directing me towards the CPA, go the business route, explore. So that's what I did. And probably my sophomore year, I thought, I really like kids. I had taught tennis lessons as a kid and just really enjoyed working with children. So I thought, I'm going to be a teacher. So I went and I chatted with the people at student services at UNI and I tried to figure out what I could do. And could I get a teaching certificate so I could teach at a higher level, not elementary school, but teach accounting classes maybe, because I enjoyed accounting. And when the rubber hit the road, I got an internship offer at John Deere that summer for my CPA path, and I was going to have to take an extra semester, maybe even a year, because I'd started late with the teaching thing. So I just thought, you know what, I like accounting, I'm just going to go with it. So that's what I did. And then I worked for 3 years at John Deere Financial, and I knew then that was not my forever career. I didn't love it. I could do it. That's kind of what it boiled down to. I needed to find something where I got to talk to people on the daily, all the time, because that's what fills my bucket. And so I had a friend. I was trying to figure out, I wanted to potentially see if I couldn't financially figure out how to stay at home with my kids. And she said, you need to check out this company, this tax place. I did taxes on the side, weekends, nights, and it was really great. And they don't charge anything for a class. You can go. So I checked it out and here I am. That's how I got my start. I was a CPA. I was in working for a company, working for Deere. And now this was the pivot that was perfect for me in my career.
So in your bio, you mentioned that you're a mentor to young talent. So you're using that teaching experience to try to grow other CPAs? Because I'll be honest, you're a dying breed out there. I feel like there's not enough CPAs in the world.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of there's just a whole lot of changes with AI, with bigger companies are selling off their individual portfolios of clients and they're saying, hey, who will take these clients? We don't want them anymore. They only want larger business clients because there are a lot of people that do their own taxes. But there are also a lot of people that need help. I met with a client just this morning and they had made mistakes on their returns in the past. They were getting letters from the Iowa Department of Revenue. They just need somebody who knows how to help them. And I do. So back to your question about mentoring young talent, it's in a couple of places that I have worked at, I have helped interns. We have had interns at a couple other places. At the place that I'm at right now, there's a group of part-time employees that I help. And just if they have questions, I'm their go-to. And so we talk through how to fix problems, what to do. I try to teach them everything I can just so they have more knowledge so that when they're interacting with a client, they sound smart and they can continue to grow the knowledge that they've got.
Awesome. So, speaking of fixing problems, what's a day in the life like for you during tax season versus the off season?
Well, they're pretty different. During tax season, it's go, 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 go. The day usually starts around 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and it for sure goes until about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night when I usually just crumple onto the floor because I can't, my brain doesn't want to work anymore. But it's just go, go, go. It's answer the phone, put out the fire, go help who needs it, and get things done and be very productive. It's very stressful. It's hard, but I love it because every time I talk to a client, and I help them. I talk to them, I help them through. They're going to retire next year and they want to know what they need to do. Their kids are going to college and they have savings and they want to know how to pull it out of their 529 plan and how that works together with the credits that are available on the tax return. There's just so many different things. And, somebody might not know they can deduct their furnace and air conditioner purchase. So I'll ask that question and they're like, hey, I never knew that. At the end of the day, my conversation and interaction with a client, at the end of that day, they're happier, they learned something, and I provided some value to them. And that means the world to me because it's that relationship. That's what drives me. That's what it makes me want to do my job. So that's the whole day and it's crazy, hour or half an hour after half an hour during tax season. In the off season, it's a much more relaxed environment. I can take my time. Those are times when somebody might need 4 or 5 years of tax returns done or 10 years of tax returns done. And we usually just say, we will work on that in May. We will take care of that later because then we have more time and I can call the IRS and take care of what's needed there and take my time and make sure that things are done well. But in the off season, there's more education that happens. I take classes, I take time to do more networking and talking with people. I'll go and have lunch with colleagues and coworkers more. It's a different, there's still tax returns to do because it doesn't ever shut off, unfortunately, but it's a different pace
And you
because
get
there's
to
not
see your
that deadline.
family, right? In the off
Yes,
season, you get to finally see them again.
I reconnect with them.
There.
You're exactly right. My kids don't it very much. They're like, I don't ever see mom. I don't, and they don't. And then I need that time in April, especially. Usually takes me about 2 months to detox and feel like I'm part of things again. And so that's
Do you
very true.
do you work the weekends as well during the busy season?
Yes, I work Saturdays always, and I try really, really hard not to work on Sunday because I need that day. I need that day to clean my house, do my laundry. I need to go on a walk and talk to a friend. We have therapy together. I need that time so that I can be the good professional person that I need to be when I'm at work. So.
Well, you talk about the enjoyment you get out of working with the different people. What do you find the most fulfilling about your job in helping those 600 families?
I don't know that there's a most fulfilling. It's a matter of I just love it when somebody says, "Thank you. I didn't know that. That was fabulous." That means I don't know how else to say it, but that's what I love. I'll have clients that write me a thank you note, and I will sometimes have tears in my eyes because I'm emotional like that, and that's why I do what I do. If I didn't interact with people and all I was doing was putting numbers in a spreadsheet for someone, there is no heart in that. That doesn't give me joy. I mean, I can be proud that I did a good job, but when you're actually impacting a family and saving them money, you're teaching them something, you're helping them, you're pointing them towards an attorney who can help them with retirement plan or with legacy planning, creating a will, creating trusts, whatever it might be. That's what makes me do what I do. And that's why I think I have the sales gene. I told you my dad was a car salesman, and he owned a dealership. And I think I have that inside of me. And so the satisfaction of just helping somebody have a little bit more of a nugget of knowledge than they had before. That's just what I like. So.
Well, and I think it's really important to note that sitting down and having coffee with you and I guess me having coffee, you watching me have coffee since you don't like coffee. I don't know what kind of person you are, a CPA that is working that many hours and not drinking coffee, but more power to you, I suppose. I think it's important to note that you do help the individual who just has a W-2 and just doesn't really understand what they're doing. I think a lot of times nowadays people they can't find that person that only does W-2s or helps with W-2.
There's a lot of truth to that because my good friend who knows what I do, they took their tax return to H&R Block because they didn't I think it was one of those things where they didn't want it to mix personal and business, which is fine. But they took their tax return to H&R Block and I'm like, "No, don't do that." Because I know they might not have the most trained folks. And so that is my niche. That's what I love to do. I love to talk with Joe Q Public, the teacher, the plumber, the small business owner. That's what we specialize in. That's what we do a lot of. We do a ton of small business work here in this office, and I personally do a lot of individual 1040.
So you're working all the time. You're working 6 days a week during the tax season. You're probably still working 5.5 during the non-tax season because you're a workaholic. What do you, besides the walk, the therapeutic walk every morning, any other recreational activities, outdoor activities, anything like that you like to do with either yourself or the family?
You know, my husband loves to run. And I used to love to run. So I'm a cheerleader now and he's actually training for a marathon right now. And so he's always going on a run and sometimes I'll go with him, but most of the time he does his thing and I do mine. Other things that I like to do, but I don't do as much of now. I love to go to musicals. I love Hamilton. I very much enjoy musicals. And so I would love to go to more shows. I need to make more time to do those kinds of things because that's something that I enjoy. And my parents introduced me to pickleball, and I would love to play pickleball more regularly, but I don't force myself to make the time. I do a lot of reading and I just like to spend time with my boys. They're college age kids. They're home right now this summer, and then they'll be on their own in August again. And so I'm just trying to be around when they're home so I can talk to them and continue to build that relationship more as an adult instead of parent child, just because it's different now. So I want them to want to reach out and talk to me. I want to be a part of their life always and forever. So those are some of the things that I do to keep myself out of trouble when it's not tax season.
So do you have plans to see Hamilton now that they're in town this week?
I don't think we're going to go this time because we saw them last time when they were in, but I would love to. I mean, you can't see that enough. I listen to it a lot. During tax season, if I'm listening to a musical, it's a bad day because I'm doing it to try to bring myself up. Yes.
That's hilarious. Well, I'll share a little personal side here. We sent my kids off to my parents' house this week, and Monday morning rolls around, and it's just quiet in the household, and it's so eerily quiet. And my wife and I, we still try to do things. We're trying to get back into the swing of just doing some stuff just for us and dating your spouse and that kind of stuff. And it's fun, but it's not the same. And going from, I got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, going from chaos every morning. One of them's always whining. One of them's really happy. It's just something about it. It's been the normal now, right? And yesterday I came into the office and I was really depressed because I just didn't have that interaction with my kids. And my mom sent me a picture of the boys, and that was great, but it's just not the same. And so I think about that, and then I think about you having your boys off in college, and how do you stay motivated with what you're doing every day? Because life is totally different, especially after the kids left the house and they went off to college. Like, what was that like?
Well, it was relief. It was fabulous. To be honest, there aren't crumbs on the counter when they're not home. I don't come home to a disaster in my kitchen. I failed my children in that department. And I hope and pray that someday they will get better. They will grow up and take care of that stuff. Honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to be done being a mom. And what drives me is my family. What my why is my kids. And my why has changed. And you know what it is now? It's okay, I need to make money. I need to make money so that I can support their needs. One of my kids is going to be a mechanic. He will need tools, and we have said we would help him with that. Both of the boys have college tuition. That is a why that drives me, that makes me want to continue to do what I'm doing. And my husband, I took a back seat. I worked part-time when the kids were real small, and I just worked during tax season. And so he took the front, the load there, and it worked hard. And I know he wants to retire. He wants to retire early, and I want to help him get there. So that all of those familial ties drive me to keep going and do a good job at what I'm doing today so that we can reach some of our own financial goals a little sooner.
I want to tie that to how you mentioned in the bio about how you work with financial advisors for your customers, because I think that a lot of times you talk to a CPA, they're looking at how do we avoid tax right now. and you're talking to a financial advisor and they're looking at how do we avoid tax in the future. How does that world mix for you? Because obviously, oftentimes a CPA and a CFA are going to say totally different things. And the client's kind of stuck in the middle saying, well, should I listen to him or should I listen to her? How does that interaction work?
It depends on the person. To be very honest, there are some financial advisors that want to meet with a tax professional. We'll have a Zoom call together or we'll just get on a phone call together. They'll ask, okay, there's a Roth conversion that the client wants to do. What can we maximize and stay in their same tax bracket? And so then I can give them that figure. Then I'll have a client that will come to me and say, you know what? I want to convert $5 million into a Roth. And I can say, no, don't do that. Do that over time. That's going to be a tax bomb. Are you sure you want to do that? And so it really depends. A lot of times I'm not as involved directly with the financial planner. I'm more tied to the client and trying to share with them, okay, if you choose to do X, this will be the tax consequence of that. That's the kind of information I can share with you. I'm happy to talk to your financial advisor, but I also am smart enough to know there's a whole lot more involved than just the tax consequences. It's what helps you sleep at night. What are your goals and what is motivating you to do your financial plan? If maybe your only job is to leave $1 million to each one of your children, and your financial planner says, put your money in an annuity. That's the only way to guarantee that. That's a true statement. I would normally say, stay away from an annuity. That's not a good investment. And none of that is tax advice. It just isn't. It's personal knowledge that I have gathered along the way. And, I know there's a time and a place for different products for sure. An annuity is one of those. And so my interaction, that would be a comment I would just say to the client. And I would just talk to them and say, here's the tax consequences of this. This is what you've done, or this is the change that you could make. Did you think about when you're on Medicare? Did you think about your IRMA? You're going to have to pay more for your premiums for Medicare. That's if your income goes up when you are older, you have to pay like a surtax on your Medicare. It's called IRMA, and it costs people money, and they don't realize that that's coming. So then in December, they'll get a big bill that their Medicare premium, it's not $200, it's $400 or $500. And they're, oh, what's going on? And it's because they made a choice to convert a bunch of money to Roth or whatever. Maybe they sold the business. They made that choice, and that causes them a tax consequence. So when you come to a tax professional and ask and talk before you do it, we love you. That's the key, is have a conversation before you do it. Have a conversation before you decide to take money out of your 401k for your kids, or have a conversation about the 529 plan, because I've had a lot of people trip themselves up because they don't understand how to navigate the system in a tax efficient way. So
I think I can
there's
relate to you on
value.
that because people come to me and say, Kyle, can I sell this vehicle while we're buying a house? Yeah, that's a great conversation to have. Can you, should you, all those kinds of things. So those are my favorite people. The ones are, so am I allowed to use my credit card that I already have open? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm glad you're asking. You're thinking about it. You saw the video that we send out as part of our process just to make you aware that all of these little decisions made throughout the next month are things that you may not think about that have anything to do with the mortgage, but really makes me happy when you reach out and ask. And as silly as it is, I'm happy to answer silly questions all day long.
Exactly. You'd much rather answer those questions on the front end than have to deal with the mess on the back end, because there's not a lot of options when you get to that point often. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because when we first applied and bought a house, got a mortgage, there is power in your information that you share with clients, because I was all about paying off a car. We paid off our car and I had nothing in our bank account, nothing for a down payment, $0. And I went to get a mortgage and the guy's like, well, what's your down payment? And I'm like, I don't have any debt. I have a job. And I was so excited. And he was like, this isn't going to help you, honey. But he did help me. A mortgage lender can help you, because he talked about how, well, go get a loan against your car. And that's my dad helped me. He took a loan out on the car and we paid it off in 2 months. And that's it. There are things you can do, and there are things to prepare, and you just have to ask. You just have to reach out and ask, and it makes all the difference.
All right, let's get into the quick pick segment here. So I'm just going to ask you a little this or that, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. So early bird or night owl?
Early bird, all day long.
Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Both.
Okay, I suppose. All right,
Sorry.
fine.
I'm going on vacation to the beach. My parents live in Florida and I love it. And we're also, my husband and I have our 25th wedding anniversary this year. And so we're going to Banff, Canada. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's the Rocky Mountains in Canada. And I've heard that it's beautiful, so much more beautiful than Colorado. And we love going to Colorado. So there's both, and it's all
Hope,
happening.
hopefully you can still get back into the country. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I wondered if they would even let us into the country.
No kidding.
Maybe I just won't. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it'll go well.
Just go to the borderlines. That's fine. Work from home or in the office?
I would love to work from home. That would be wonderful. But working in the office is usually what has to happen. So that's what happens.
Numbers or narratives? What's more satisfying?
I'd say narratives, believe it or not.
I think numbers are way more satisfying, but I can appreciate that.
Well, it just depends. It just depends on where your perspective is. If you're talking about financial numbers, that's one thing. But if you're getting feedback and the narrative comes there, when you're getting a review or something, that's worth way more in my book. So
Podcasts or audiobooks on a long drive?
audiobooks.
Crunching
Sorry.
spreadsheets or client conversations? I think this one's already answered, but I'll
Client
ask again.
conversations all day long.
Favorite season of the year?
Probably spring and summer. Sorry, you got to.
I suppose. Fall is where, football's at, but we didn't talk about that. So that's fine.
No, we didn't.
Tax season or off season, which do you secretly prefer?
That's really hard because it's crazy, but I look forward to tax season most of the time. And then when I'm in it, it's like having a child. You forget what it's like. You get started. It's like teachers at the first day of school. They're all excited and then they realize the kindergartners don't know how to do anything and they're so exhausted by the time they get home. Just like that with tax season. I get started, I'm all excited, I'm going to conquer the world, and then it's March and I'm tired and I'm ready to be done. So it's just a cycle. And the off season is wonderful, but sometimes it gets boring. And I have no idea what the heck I'm going to do when I retire because I need to fill my time with something fun and something that charges me up, and work does that for me.
Well, favorite comfort food then after a long day?
Ice cream.
Favorite flavor?
I really am kind of excited about these. There are these little bites. They're Yasso bites. It's dark chocolate with vanilla ice cream inside. And I like them very much. They're 35 calories each. They're kind of sort of good for me. So yeah,
Sure.
I like them.
They're good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you ever, there's a place over on University. I will butcher the name. I just know that it is a Hispanic ice cream place. And it's over kind of by the Starbucks and Wells Fargo Bank and all those that are right there on University near Valley West Mall. It's next to the Verizon store that's over there. And there is, I think it's Machisimo or I don't know what the name of it is, but they have dipped bars. So you get the bar and then you can dip it into dark chocolate, milk chocolate, or caramel. And then they dip it into different sprinkles and different kinds of things. And then they can also put some powder and stuff on it. It's amazing. So it's gourmet ice cream. It's a little more expensive. It was like $40 for the four of us to get one bar each. So it was kind of expensive, but it was totally worth it. It was so good.
That's awesome. It's an experience and that's worth it. The kids will never forget it.
And they're too young. They'll forget. I won't forget. Favorite local spot in Des Moines for you to unwind?
My own backyard. Sorry. I'm a homebody. I don't get excited about going out to dinner. We eat at home most of the time, much to my husband's dismay. He would like to get out a little bit more, but yeah, I'm frugal and I like to be home. So,
and last one here, mentioned you like to read a little bit. So fiction or nonfiction?
mix of both, mostly nonfiction, no, it's mostly fiction, but I like to read about history. I like to read about wars. I'll read books about Vietnam, World War II, that kind of thing, a lot of times.
Do you like the movies then too about wars?
I do.
Just watched one this weekend and I was blown away. It was great.
Yep. I like them.
All right, let's get into the trending topics. So you and I kind of talked about some of the cool stuff that's happening with being a CPA, and I don't know that there's really anything cool, but we're going to go with it. Kidding.
Boring, I know. It's the way it is.
You're not boring. It's the topic in general.
But
most people don't associate tax credits with things like prom, tux rentals. Can you break down what the Iowa tuition and textbook credit actually covers and what kinds of surprising expenses parents might be missing out on?
That's what I was just going to say. I don't know if everybody heard you, but you did say prom, tux, rentals, and you used the word tax deduction in the same sentence. The Iowa tuition and textbook credit it's not a huge credit. It's just a little thing. It's the first 25% of what you spend on a laundry list of categories, you get to deduct up to $500. So the max this is going to save you is $500, and it's on the Iowa tax return. And it's humdrum, boring things like it's actually this credit is designed for private school attendees. It gives the parents that pay tuition to private schools a tax break. But people who go to public school don't usually realize that they can deduct a lot of things and they can take advantage of this credit as well. So if you have public school kids and you pay the registration fee of $50 for elementary school and you pay $30 for your school supplies, you can use that $80 and you'll get 25% of that, and that's a tax credit on the Iowa tax return. And that's a credit, which is dollar for dollar reduction in taxes. It's not just a reduction in your income, which isn't nearly as good of a savings as a credit is. So this is a good thing. And the crazy thing is you can deduct your prom tux rental, or if you have, I don't even know if you can deduct, or if you can find a place where you can rent a dress for prom. But if you found one and you rented a dress, the key is rent. You can't purchase. If you buy a tux or if you buy a suit that your son would wear to prom, that's not deductible. But again, going back to the main part about that credit, it's fees you pay to register for school. Activity tickets. If you pay for an activity ticket, you can deduct that. Supplies are deductible. And if your child's in sports, most of the easy things, busing is another one. So when your kids are young, it's busing, registration, school supplies. That's usually most of it. And then when they hit fourth and fifth grade and they're involved in music, then you can deduct if they're involved in music through the school. That's the key. It has to be through the school. If they're taking private drum lessons and they're in band, then those private drum lessons are part of this credit. And you just never would have realized that. I know so many people, I fire those questions and they're not prepared for them because they haven't had anybody ask them before. So it's kind of crazy. But the music gets into it in fourth and fifth grade. And then in middle school, you get to a point where maybe they're running track for school. There's all sorts of club activities. Club activities are not deductible. That doesn't count. It's got to be through the school. But if you run track for your middle school or your high school and you have to buy equipment for that sport, such as cleats, you can take the $150 that you paid for those cleats, and that's equipment that's required to use for that school sport. And it's double use for you because you're probably using it for the club track field team in addition to the school team. But as long as you use it for the school team, it's fair game. And people who are in baseball and softball, they need to pay attention because bats are incredibly expensive if they're a catcher, their catcher's gear. And again, as long as you're participating in the activity through the school, you're on the school team in middle school or high school, then you're okay. But and your club travel, that's not allowed. But that can add up in a hurry. And again, to max the credit per child, you need $2,000 of expenses, and that'll get you your $500 credit. And people who are in public school usually don't hit that. They are usually much lower than that. But if your child is involved in school, show choir is another very high ticket item. A lot of people will spend $400 or $500 on costuming for show choir. If you're in chorus and you have to have a robe cleaning fee for $100, that's something to add to this credit. There's lots of weird wackadoo things. So if you're spending money on something that has to do with school for your child, ask questions of whoever is preparing your tax return because you might be able to save yourself some money on the Iowa tax return.
Pretty sure that's not listed on TurboTax because I did not see anything about paying for my kids' school books on there. So
Probably
darn you,
not.
TurboTax.
I know. They do their best. But yeah, sometimes a real person is just a tiny bit better.
Kidding. Absolutely. Well, thank you. That was really enlightening. And I don't have those kids in those age groups yet, but they will be soon. And I
So sad.
absolutely will be thinking about that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, it was great having you on the show today. And it was great learning about you and all that you bring to the table for your clients. And just that right there, I feel super enlightened. How can people get a hold of you if they either are wanting your services or want to ask you questions or whatever?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would love to chat with anybody that is interested in tax services, help with anything. My phone number is 515-528-7915. That'll get you direct to my desk. And you can also send me an email. And my email address is skehoe, Kehoe, at planners, PLANNERS, tax.com.
Awesome. Well, Shelley, thanks again. And thank you all for listening in on this episode. It's great to have a CPA on here, someone who is actually fun to talk to. And I haven't really been able to find a lot of those. So thank you. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed today. And we hope you enjoyed the conversation, found it valuable. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms and subscribe to the podcast for more exciting episodes. And remember, stay curious. We'll see you next week on The Lofty Lender.
Thank you.